Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Richard Terrell. I go by Kirby Kid, and you are watching the fourth part of the Footsies Fighting Game Fundamentals video series. Here is a series where we're talking about what fighting games are, how they're designed, how they work, how you can play them better, and just kind of contextualizing all the mystery, all the questions, all the information in one sort of start to finish comprehensive video series. So this is part 4. If you are new to this, we are design oriented. We focus on game design, teaching game design, and enjoying games better through community. So we have a Discord community, and we do a lot of the discussions that for the material that you see in this video ahead of time, and these videos are just great for recap. So if you want to get on the discussion, go to designoriented.net. Information is down there. The website has everything you need. But otherwise, if you are interested in fighting games, if you're interested in understanding what they are, how they work, what's so cool about them, why do people play them so obsessively, how to get better at them, this is the series for you. And if you click the link down in the description to the Dynamap I created using this software called Figma, you can start here where it says start here. And if you learn how to zoom in, that's pretty much all you do. And from here you can read the information. You can look at the little outline for the course schedule. You can start at the beginning. You can download the game. It's free. And you can start participating in this little interesting experiment. But we're pretty much at the end of this long journey. We're on step 7. And step 7, after playing the game and taking surveys and competing and creating this huge diagram here of the strategy space of the game and talking about every single step along the way, now we are extracting lessons. And the whole point of this is to listen to videos of fighting game players and organize their comments into, because we revealed a lot of information, a lot of insights, a lot of structure from everything that we've done up to this point. So now we are taking a look at what other people say, people that aren't a part of design oriented, people that don't really care about game design, just people out there competing in games and trying to pass their wisdom on to other people. We're listening to what they say and seeing if it all lines up with what we've learned. And so far, we spent the previous stream going over that. This is the fighting game strategy spread. No, that's not. No. Well, yeah, this is the conceptual spread. So, conceptual spread. There we go. I can change things. And basically, we're taking all the concepts we learned before, kind of arranging them somewhat in the same way that we've been looking at before. See the big triangle, like big triangle over there, big triangle over here. But ultimately, this is just a handy temporary way of organizing all these quotes. We got through 29 plus quotes last time. We're going to hopefully go for another 30 or 40 this time. And as you can see, every quote has a number. Every quote has got whoever said it. And if you click on these in the program, it'll open up a YouTube video with exactly that quote. So you can listen to the voices of these top players and coaches and competitors yourself. So we're going to pick up right where we left off. Let me just... Next we have quote number 30. And if I do this, Oliver Twist. Let me try this. Bam. So MKLeo, what's cool about half of these quotes is MKLeo is an amazing Smash Ultimate player. He is known for winning almost all the tournaments and making these incredible comebacks. He did so again at this tournament called Riptide. This is him being interviewed afterwards. But what's amazing is I have footage from him talking about his performance, him talking about how he plays in general, other top players analyzing the match that he played, and with like 5, 6, 7 different eyes all looking and talking about the same thing. It's really cool to get sort of a gallery of voices, sort of a well-rounded perspective on what's happening instead of just one, hype man just saying that was amazing, there's no way you could have done that. We're actually hearing from a bunch of different people and how they interpret it. So here's another quote. We're going to pick up right where we left off. This is quote number 30. In fact, I want to do this in a way that doesn't get annoying. So let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do this. Oliver Twist. This. And what I love about this little Discord streaming window is that it you can design it to always stay on top. Which, this is probably something Windows computers should be able to do a little bit more universally would be cool. But we'll take what we can get. Right here, I'm just going to looks like I'll pop it over there. Do this. Looking not bad, not bad. And now whenever we hit play, nope, you don't hit play in the stream, you hit play on the video.
Now that you say that, that's actually one of the few reasons why I play bot in this matchup, because that way I just don't die at like 40, right? Every single time I'm off stage, I'm like, yeah, I'm alright, because like I'm Violet. Like I can mix up my recoveries with the up being the wall. I can just do a lot of things, and like it's so good that at one moment I feel that Tweak didn't know what to do. Like he actually looked like he didn't know what to do around my things, around my mix-ups, and I was like, yeah, this is the reason why I play this character, because it's so weird. And I just want to mention this. I play Violet because I think he's high tier, but I still think people don't really know the matchup. And that's my plan, at least for now. At least, like, until someone figures something out, I'll probably just keep abusing the matchup knowledge against Violet. Definitely. Now that you say that, that's actually one of the few reasons why I play bot in this matchup, because that way I just don't die at like 40, right? Every single time I'm off stage, I'm like, yeah, I'm alright, because like I'm Violet. Like I can mix up my recoveries with the up being the wall. I can just do a lot of things, and like it's so good.
So yeah, he's talking about him not being able to get ledge trapped very easily by his opponent. So he's like, yeah, now that you say that, you know, that's one of the reasons why I picked this character named Violet. Let me just... And he's like, Violet has a ton of mix-ups for recovery options. So we're just going to put that over here. Quote number 30. The other thing he says is we're going to say MK Leo. And we're going to copy this link for y'all. So, and then he goes on to say
that at one moment I feel that Tweak didn't know what to do. Like he actually looked like he didn't know what to do around my things, around my mix-ups, and I was like, yeah, this is the reason why I play this character, because it's so weird. And I just want to mention this. I play Violet because I think he's high tier, but I still think people don't really know the matchup, and that's my plan, at least for now. At least like until someone figures something out, I'll probably just keep abusing the matchup knowledge against Violet.
Cool. So picked a character a lot of players didn't know. He's going to keep pressing that advantage until other people figure it out. So we're going to put that under matchup and slightly closer to metagame. And that's interesting that top level players, you know, there's all kind of advantages out there that you can do to supposedly improve yourself. You can sit up straight and drink water and get good rest and blah, blah, blah. The list is incredibly long. And sometimes people get in their head that the top players kind of do what comes natural, and then they just keep doing that and they're just the best. But multiple times, MK Leo had this, in this interview, he said, like, I did something before, it wasn't good enough. I have to do more of those things, more of those best practices. And here he's saying, if I get any advantage from picking a character that's less understood and one that I think is good, I'm going to ride that until it stops working, and then I'm going to do something else that works. So incredibly flexible, self-aware, like, player here. And that strategy works for you, and it works for him. There's no difference between him and you with these best practices and how he approaches the game. So I think that's pretty important. But he also said, one part I liked is, what is it? At one point, Tweak didn't know what to do against all of his stuff. And like one thing I want to help people realize is that if you don't know what to do, you play just like everyone else who doesn't know what to do. And that usually involves waiting, freezing up, having real delayed responses, right? Like, we're all the same. And when you see that, even at a high level, the high level players are the same in the same ways that you are, it really should help bring some perspective on the complexity of this world and the difference between people, how sometimes the difference seems so great, but yet we're so much closer in being similar than you might think. So that's why I love that quote. We're going to go move on to the next one to further illuminate what I mean.
I don't know. It doesn't look like Tweak has a single like pin on what Leo wants to do. He's like throwing things out. He's just very ambiguous.
Like,
I don't know.
So, person observing the same match in the moment, and he's like, I don't know. It doesn't even look like Tweak has a clue about what Leo is trying to do. So Leo's just like, I didn't think he knew what I was doing. And then this guy's observing. He's like, I don't think he knows what he's doing. You know, as much as we like to think, is Mars with two S's? I should know this. Oh well, it'll be two S's for now. So yeah, as much as we like to think that the human mind can't be known and nobody really knows what's going on in your head. You know, we can observe your actions and pretty much know what's going on in your head. When it doesn't look like you know what you're doing and you're getting bopped, you probably don't know what you're doing and you're probably getting bopped. So that's the observation here is matches what we just heard in that interview, right? And he also saying, why doesn't he know what to do? Because MK Leo is too ambiguous. He has too many mix-ups. So we're going to put that over there. Move on to the next quote. Oops. Did I do that?
Tweak's doubting his ledge trapping hella hard because of this like weird stalling everything. So like Tweak's just really scared. Tweak's doubting his ledge trapping hella hard because of this like weird stalling everything. So like Tweak's just really scared.
So Tweak is doubting his ledge trapping because of this stalling recovery thing. So right in the face of MK Leo using his new character or less known character and all these mix-ups, even Esam.
Tweak's doubting his ledge trapping hella hard because of this like weird stalling everything. So like Tweak's just really scared.
So it's just kind of supporting exactly what we just heard from Mars. It's Esam. Cool. That was good. Let's move on to the next one. 31.
Yeah, I planned that before coming to this tournament. I know that I was listening to that a lot. Like, I was watching my sets at Summit, and I realized that I was literally playing so bad at round banana. Like, every time I grabbed the banana, I always threw it back at him. And I was like, it's really bad because that's what Diddy Kong wants, right? So I decided to wait. Violet's up is really good. It's frame 9, so like I actually got an option there. And like, yeah, that's kind of like what applies with the stage, since like if you play in a really big stage, you will just not catch Diddy Kong, he will run away, play the banana, and then like control neutral. That's why I really wanted to like avoid those stages. But yeah, I really prepared for that. If you like, I discovered like a really good way to never get hit by it. Violet can full hop Nair, and since like his Nair is so good in the air, like if you full hop it, it's like frame 6, like you will grab the banana at the same time you hit Diddy Kong. Yeah, I planned that before coming to this tournament. I know that I was listening to that a lot.
So he's talking about the last tournament where he lost to Tweaks Diddy. He lost because of banana, and he's like, yes, I developed a counter strategy to that specifically because I looked at my match, because he said he looked at his matches earlier or whatever, and he realized he was losing to that a lot. So he had to come up with something new. He had to come up with a counter. So branches. I need to put one in here for. I'm going to move strategy limits a little bit further out and put counter strats. And we're going to put this over here. Because, yeah, like, if you don't have a thing to beat it, you're going to lose. Like, counter strats. I think I had that somewhere else in this display, but mix-ups, double blind, fringe possibility, play styles, character styles, metagame, matchup, expectations, reactive counter strategies. So this is in the context of footsies, right? And being able to be right there on the edge of stuff and reads. But this, in general, this is concept of counter strats. Like, if you don't have a plan to counter the thing they're going to do, then you're not going to perform well. You have to come up with some conceptual, behavioral, different thing you're going to do, and it's got to make sense. So listen to MK Leo.
Like, I was watching my sets at Summit, and I realized that I was literally playing so bad at round banana. Like, every time I grabbed the banana, I always threw it back at him. And I was like, it's really bad because that's what Diddy Kong wants, right? So I decided to wait. Violet's up is really good. It's frame 9, so like I actually got an option there. And like, yeah, that's kind of like what applies with the stage, since like if you play in a really big stage, you will just not catch Diddy Kong, he will run away, play the banana, and then like control neutral. That's why I really wanted to like avoid those stages. But yeah, I really prepared for that. If you like, I discovered like a really good way to never get hit by it. Violet can full hop Nair, and since like his Nair is so good in the air, like if you full hop it, it's like frame 6, like you will grab the banana at the same time you hit Diddy Kong.
Cool. So he's like, I knew I needed the strategy. I also picked stages that I think would maximize his strategy and prevent Diddy from doing the thing he did best and beat me with last time. And I discovered something very specific. It's called full hop Nair. I will use full hop Nair to not only attack Diddy, but catch the banana. And if you watch the match, he does it almost all the time. And I think Esam comments on it, but we'll see in a second. Let's see if I have a quote for that. Right here.
If you start grabbing banana from Tweak or Diddy Kongs, Diddy becomes way worse. And he's relentlessly grabbing Tweak's banana. Like there, he's like, I could have pressured Tweak, I could have done all these things, but he drops banana from fair, because rip, unlucky, and then just grabs banana and then runs away. Because Tweak, if he's gonna do nothing, doesn't do anything, and Leo has banana, and now Leo can play the banana game. Or he approaches, in which case you get punished for doing banana. If you start grabbing banana from Tweak or Diddy Kong.
So, Esam, knowing the matchup, he's just like, it's super important to play around the banana. He's the one who said MK Leo's playing textbook anti-Diddy Kong, and now he's going on to further describe, and he's showing you what Leo's doing to do some of that stuff. He's showing it. Let's see. This needs to be theater mode. Stop doing that. Okay, so this is quote 31. Yeah, Esam.
Becomes way worse. And he's relentlessly grabbing Tweak's banana. Like there, he's like, I could have pressured Tweak, I could have done all these things, but he drops banana from fair, because rip, unlucky, and then just grabs banana and then runs away. Because Tweak, if he's gonna do nothing, doesn't do anything, and Leo has banana, and now Leo can play the banana game. Or he approaches, in which case you get punished for doing banana. If you start.
And he's also evaluating the matchup strategy according to a variety of branching options. So I'm just gonna tuck that over here. Very simple. Cool. Quote 32.
We're 23 seconds into the game. We haven't seen a single side B from Tweak. And I think that's the primary option that we've seen him, I guess, afraid to throw out and risk. It's probably due to earlier things that we would have seen at this winter final set. But if we look at a lot of situations where side B would have been good, like right here on this dash shield, right there. And I think a lot of it is Leo isn't staying in shield for very long, so Tweak doesn't feel confident throwing out the side B and giving up stage control. But there are a lot of these scenarios where, Leo will dash shield, but he's just in shield for a tiny amount of time and just not really, for Tweak to be able to properly read him and lock him down with side B. It's not like other players where he's going to get scared into holding shield for a prolonged period of time, or he can just get that safe, easy side B. Leo is essentially always reacting at a shield pretty quickly with a full hopper in air.
So, I thought this
We're
response...
23 seconds into the game.
Where is it?
We haven't seen a single side.
I thought this response was interesting. I used to talk a lot like this, just observing other players and being like, why aren't they doing this move or that move, right? And, the reality of it is everyone can't do everything that's good. The way your brain works, the way you make connections, you can't just be like this super flexible, fluid, like, I have calculated all the possibilities and let me just do what's right in the right moment. It's not how it works. Two, what works is always relative to what your opponent is doing. So even if it looks good on paper, it might not be the best option. Or like let's say Tweak's fingers hurt, right? He hurt his fingers, so side Bs aren't coming out consistently. Well, that's a good reason not to try to do it in the match. We can't see that. We don't know that. There's a lot of information we don't know. So a lot of our commentary really is just from a limited perspective or an outside perspective. But there's a little bit of a curse that lower level players have when they're evaluating, right? You can only see the world based on how you understand it, right? Your knowledge shapes what you perceive, and if you don't have this sort of mental strategy space in your brain for Smash and all these different possibilities for all the characters and all the situations, you will invariably interpret the complexity of the scene at a much lower level, which may not just be effective. It just may not be good enough. In this case, this guy is just like, oh, look, monkey flip is good on paper. Why isn't he doing it? And, he reasons like, yeah, Leo's not staying in shield too long and Leo's moving around. But really, I would like you to listen to these follow-up quotes and see what other players have said. But copy image here. So along with quote number 32, he's kind of talking about the risk-reward. And he's talking about not using a very basic move. So we're going to put this, finally, our first one in here. We're going to do this too. This is how many times he's commenting on monkey flip. He's looking at the match and saying like, haven't seen a single monkey flip. This is a situation where monkey flip would have been good. Side B would have been, he doesn't want to give up stage control. You can just know how safe side B is. Tweakers has to go for more side Bs, blah, blah, blah. Like, he keeps kind of focusing on that one move and that one aspect, and this is what everyone else had to say.
Oh, monkey flip stopped working. Monkey flip stopped working like Leo was avoiding all of them. He was just really looking out for it, which is a good adaptation. That was a really good back air. Kind of, I mean, obviously Tweak meant to monkey flip there. That sucks. Like anytime you see a Diddy do this peanut, they're trying to smash monkey flip and messing it up. Oh, monkey flip stopped working. Monkey flip stopped working like Leo was avoiding all of them. He was just really looking out for it, which is a good adaptation. That was a really good back air. Kind of, I mean, obviously Tweak meant to monkey flip there. That sucks. Like anytime you see a Diddy do this peanut, they're trying to smash monkey flip and messing it up. Oh, monkey flip stopped working.
So, a lot of things happening there. He's like, oh, if you're thinking about that Twig should use monkey flip, yeah, monkey flip stopped working in this matchup between these two players a long time ago. So he's really talking about the level of adaptation. Twig tried it, didn't work. It stopped working. So he's saying like, yeah, Tweak's on adaptation level 2, where instead of just trying different approaches of monkey flip, different timings, he's like, frick, monkey flip doesn't work at all, so I'm gonna try whole different strategies. And our friend Overlay Day here is just like, he should probably try more monkey flips, and Tweak's like, nah, and Ethan's like, yeah, it stopped working. Let me go and move this. And he's also talking about, like, listen,
monkey flip stopped working like Leo was avoiding all of them. He was just really looking out for it, which is a good adaptation. That was a really good back air. Kind of, I mean, obviously.
And then he also notices when Diddy messes up a monkey flip, he knows so much about the execution of that move that he knows what it looks like when it messes up, and he also knows that how many more times Diddy is trying to do monkey flip and failing than perhaps Overlay Day is aware of.
Tweak meant to monkey flip there. That sucks. Like anytime you see a Diddy do this peanut, they're trying to smash monkey flip and messing it up.
So that's really precise knowledge. Right? We're gonna move this quote a little bit down here in between those two, but yeah, and we have one more quote, or maybe two more.
B. It seems like every now and then Tweak will just chuck out a side B, and then that's how he's able to get out the banana, because they're both playing so slow. So when Tweak chucks out that side B, it catches Leo off guard.
Remember that Tweak did get a really good kill trading back here.
So he's saying like, it seems like every now and then Tweak is throwing out the side B monkey flip and is catching Leo off guard. He's observing the grand finals match. So this is not the same exact set. This is when they fought before and then they have a rematch, so to speak. And he's just observing based on how this initial match is going. It looks like when the competitors have a new set to play, so the old set, Tweak lost, it's over, start a new set. He actually tests the monkey flip over again. He's like, okay, well, I know it didn't work the last set, but let's see if it works again, because you always have to test your thingies. So I'm going to put that under... And it seemed to catch Leo off guard, so we're going to listen to the next quote then.
Still behind by a little bit, but I mean,
Oh, the classic Leo rolls out the corner. He loves that. He loves that. It's super risky. We're probably not going to see it much of a Diddy Kong, because Tweak can just chill at this position with banana. All right, that's good. Leo jumping over the side B that time. Another side B. Yeah. Tweak's chucking out the side Bs actually. Ooh, caught that side B. Oh, okay, good tech.
Yeah. That was the first time he done it too, so trying to catch Tweak a little bit off guard.
Nice, Tweak getting the banana off stage. It's a really good moment to get the banana.
Alright, keeping the distance away from Tweak.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's hella punishing these side Bs now. He's had enough of it.
Same match. Same match, so it's like a last stock on the first match of that second set. Now at first he's like, yeah, Tweak's testing the side Bs. Okay, yeah, he's catching a few of them. In this one clip, 43 seconds worth of footage, I'm going to help you count the side Bs in case you're less familiar with Smash. So check this out.
Did not bleed out any percent there on that.
Still behind by a little bit.
One.
Oh, the classic Leo rolls out the corner. He loves that.
And
he
Leo
loves that.
didn't get hit
It's
by
super
either of
risky.
those.
We're probably not going to see it much of a Diddy Kong, because Tweak can just chill at
Leo didn't get hit by any of 3.
with banana.
Leo didn't get hit by that one.
Leo jumping over the side B that time.
4. Leo punished that one.
Tweak's chucking out the side Bs actually.
4. Punished that one. 5.
Side B. Oh, okay, good tech.
Five,
Nice, Tweak getting the banana off stage.
Six,
It's a really
punish.
good moment to get the banana.
and 7, punish. Oh my gosh. So he did 2 unpunished, and then 3 close, and 4, 5, 6, 7 punish, 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 kill. Come on. Side B, not working. So it kind of shows a lot about what's happening in fighting games. You always have to test it. You always have to push the limits. Tweak did not do the same side B twice. He has 7 different variations. Most of them got punished. He got killed for it. So that's a big deal. That means regardless of Tweak's variety, the counter strat was there, and he played it, and it worked really well. So that's starting to shut down some of Diddy's / Tweak's best options. But it's really interesting how this one player, what's his name, Pop T1, he was just like, yeah, he starts to throw him out. Yeah, okay, cool. And then he's like, oh, like, no, it's not working anymore. It's clear. So let me just grab that. It's quote 32. I'm gonna move this over here. I'm gonna change this to Pop T1 32.3. Do that. The first time he's observing the amount of monkey flips, and he's just observing that they seem to be working. And we're gonna just put this a little bit at expectations, and then. And I'm going to put another one out here too. Oop. I'm going to move reads over, and I'm going to put tests. Just this concept of like, yeah, your opponents are going to expect things or whatever, but at some point you have to test. You got to test them. Let me see. So we're going to move player play style over here. Move these 2 quotes over here. Nope. Over here, cool. And now this idea of testing them is a little bit like playing footsies, is a little bit playing to the player, so I'm going to put it slightly in between those 2 and shrink it. We're going to move this over here. Cool. Cool, like that. Yeah, and then he's just like, yeah, they're not working anymore. They used to work, they're not working. This is the quote we just looked at. I'm just going to grab the URL and exit a bunch of these. So Pop T1 turns into Pop T4. Done. Count the successful monkey B flips, yeah. And then this is, I have a picture here of how many times he said copy image. Let's copy image. Come on. So how many times he's observing side B? I'll just put that there. All right, quote 33. Let's get this. It's hard to keep up with what they're doing. Okay, cool. I think this is Mars.
It's so hard to keep up with, like,
Let me turn it back up.
what they're doing. Like, you could fucking, you could write a little mini essay on majority of the interactions happening here. Because it's a lot of conditioning. It's a lot of just, I'm gonna pick the safe option, and then it's also just like, I'm gonna commit in this instant to playing reaction based just for the mix-up. Like, you know, it's almost impossible to play the player in these situations because they're so mix-up heavy that you just gotta play the game like a normal human being, and it's fucking really good to watch.
So
It's so hard to
this quote here is actually packed with a lot of subtlety, so I'll help you understand what he's saying. We'll start at the top.
keep up with, like, what they're doing. Like, you could fucking, you could write a little mini essay on majority of the interactions happening here.
So he's recognizing how complex this high-level battle is. He can see it, and he's like, he doesn't even have time to explain it or talk about it, but he can feel the complexity and all the variations they're doing. So we're going to put a little bit there for mix-up.
because it's a lot of conditioning. It's a lot of just I'm gonna pick the safe option, and then it's also just like I'm gonna commit in this instant to playing reaction.
So he's saying it's a lot of conditioning, a lot of picking the safe option, and a lot of committing. So with Footsies, you know, the conditioning, you can put that close to expectations. And it's like sometimes it's just committing that's close to the reads, right? And then for the most part, they're playing out of their strategy, like a higher level of strategy and counter strategies. So when they pick the safe option, that means they not only are aware of the options they have, but they have evaluated them for the risk and reward, and they're picking the better ones. So we're going to put that somewhere in between counter strats and risk reward. And we can move slight variations a little bit further out so that it's a little over here now. And we can make this a little bigger because it's pretty cool. Yeah, so like, we'll hear a little bit more about this later, but Smash is a strategy game. If you don't have a good enough strategy to fight the person who's using a strategy against you, you will lose. So there's certain things you just have to know, and there's certain things you have to do in certain situations. Everybody gets that. But in this case, it's like, well, what happens when both players know a lot and do the best, safest thing possible? Well, if one player has I had a better way of illustrating before, but if we go back to Footsies, if one player has like a counter strategy that like can do it easily on reaction and stay safe setting it up, like some of these parry, neutral, option select thingies that can option select parry and stay safe and then punish on reaction like this for a KO or whatever. If you have strats like that and your opponent doesn't know how to counter it, look, you're just going to end up in all these interactions with a KO and KO. If your opponent doesn't know how to take it to the next level and potentially KO you back, they're going to die. They're going to keep trying stuff, and the branches you're going to push the branches into the next level, and you're going to KO them every time. There are situations, there are strategies like that. That's how games work. They're interactive, they're competitive, there's interplay, and some actions stop other actions from actually being realized. That's how it works. So he's saying, well, what happens when both players have a lot of branches and instead of just like trying to be one level up on the other player, like the other player meets you, and then they try to be one up on you and they meet you, and you're like, oh, well, what happens when you're both equally skilled, as they like to say? Well, at that point, there's no easy win. There's no haha, you fell for it, over and over because you don't know what's going on. Then it turns back into what you might call Footsies, right? You have to try to get an advantage by conditioning your opponent. That means you have to be aware of their in the moment expectations. Sometimes you have to just commit to a hard read because they don't expect you to, or because at some point you always have to commit. And sometimes your reactive counters that you can do safely aren't really there. So you kind of scrap around with this whole like playing on the edge thing. So this quote definitely goes on the playing on the edge aspect. Because he's like, after all the strategies, if strategies don't work to be superior than your opponent and beat them down, then you gotta scrap. You gotta scrap it out, and that's what he's saying here.
Reaction based, just for the mix-up. I'm gonna commit in this instant to playing reaction based, just for the mix-up. Like, you know, it's almost impossible to play the player in these situations because they're so mix-up heavy that you just gotta play the game like a normal human being.
So he's basically saying like, when you're at equal skill like this, instead of just being a nerd and finding a strategy and going, haha, you didn't realize that you had to hold this button ahead of time and winning a whole tournament, he's like, now you have to play like a normal human being. You got to get in there, you got to throw out some stuff, you got to take a few licks, you got to scrap it out, basically. And he's really describing something very specific and high level and clear about fighting games.
It's fucking really good to watch.
Cool. So yeah, and he's also commenting on how fun that is as a spectator to watch. Because if you see too many people do too many set plays and they're too comfortable, it can be entertaining in different reasons, but sometimes you really want to see people struggle. You want to see what they look like when their back's to the wall and yada yada. So like, that's just an interesting comment. So we're going to move on to quote number 34.
Down until punished, and see, like earlier, Tweak tried to land, like go through the platform and land, and Leo hit him for it. So this time he's like, okay, you are gonna land on the platform back here, which was really, really good, like immediate adaptation. Like the thing about top players that is like mind blowing, and I know I do it too, but like we'll see an option that we hit them for, and we're like, okay, well, they didn't do X because they were like, they've done X the entire time, but I haven't punished them. So they already tried to mix it up to counter my adaptation. It didn't work, but now they're actually going to counter my counter, so I'm going to be ready for the other option next.
So he's talking about branches, right? And how to use branches once you have them. So somewhere in between branches and counter strats, this quote goes. And he's basically saying, like, he's also talking about testing. Where did I put testing? I want to put that up here. There's certain ways that you can test where, depending on what you do, you get the result, right? You hit them, you didn't hit them, they moved away or whatever, but how you interpret that result is complex because of what branches you know and what branches you think your opponent knows. And this all falls under adaptation level 1, where while you're still pressing this particular strategy, if you know it can go, I'll just use the branches here as a better illustration. Let's say you get to this point in your strategy, this break point, because it literally says break in the background, and you know from this you can do this, 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 or this, these 4 circles right here. You know that some of these that you do will result in an instant KO. Cool. Great. KO. Great. But if not, you get to see how your opponent reacts. They may react like this, 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 or this. And even if you don't do the thing that necessarily beats their reaction, you can be like, why would they do this? Why would they do this? If they do this, did they know about this? Did they know I could backdash if they uppercut? If they backdash, like, did they know I could have just done a special kick and caught their backdash? Like, who knows? But once you see how they react, you're like, I think this kind of player doesn't know about this, this, and this, and next time we get into this situation here, I'm definitely going to this branch. That's what he's talking about. It's not only having the branches, but it's using the branches to better, it's using the results of your test to better eliminate certain possibilities and hedge your bets on other possibilities. So that's level 1 adaptation, because you're still like hanging out in the same branch, and that's why we put it here. Cool. Next quote, 35.
I feel like most of the time, like, Tweak gets hit, it's like it's like mistakes. I don't know. I wouldn't even say like Leo's doing like a crazy job about like finding his way in. It's Tweak just like, I don't think he's playing to Byleth's weaknesses at all. He's treating Byleth like a real character, and it gives him opportunities. What I mean by that is like, this character's slow. Treat him like a slow character. Run away from him. Make him come to you. Like, I feel like most of the time, like, Tweak gets hit, it's like
35. Okay. So it's interesting. There's so many interesting comments. There's so many interesting things that people say, and it's so insightful sometimes. Mars is like people play all the time in Smash and tournaments and competitions, and sometimes you're like, that was amazing. They get up from the table like, I play like trash. You're like, but that was amazing though. So like, different perspectives, there's different expectations people have on themselves or others. Sure, it makes sense. A person can win a match and the coach is like, what are you doing out there? You ruined it. I told you never to do that with your wrist, and you did that thing with the ankle. You're gonna hurt yourself, son. What's going on? Like, they could definitely be seeing things that are beyond just winning or losing, right? Makes sense. In this case, Mars is like, there are multiple ways to win and lose a Smash match. You could throw out, just to use the illustration because we built it, so like, yeah, let's use it. There's ways of like, hey, I tried every single one of my branching possibilities and lost. That looks a certain way, and it's exciting because everything you do, if they have a counter for it, like let's say the only thing you knew about Footsies was this second layer branch, this dark, there's this black in the center, and then there's this second layer here with this slightly darker gray. Let's say this is all you knew. You're like, I got all these strats. Let me try this, that. Let me try this, that, and then every now and then you get countered because they do the third layer, and you're like, I didn't know you could do a third layer. Or they do a third layer here, like, I guess I lost again. And every time you get to the second layer, they push you to the third, fourth, fifth, or whatever, and then they keep beating you. So if you didn't even know there was more layers, that's a certain kind of match result. You're like, whoa, that person knew more than me. That person seemed to guess all my mix-ups. That person seemed to never be flustered. Wow. there's another way to mess up and lose tournaments. It's just like you're tired, you're unfocused, you're on tilt, and you just start doing, like, let's say you're normally a player that plays on the second or third layer, and you get angry, and you just start doing this brain dead stuff over here, just like throwing out kicks and losing, high risk. This is high risk because if you do this thing right here on the first layer, they have 4 opportunities to counter fairly easily and KO you back. And the best that you could do is, in one of the possibilities, you could KO them back. So, like, they have essentially 2 to your 4. They have 50% chance this is going to work at best, we'll say. So, like, let's say you normally are playing much safer over in this parts of your branch, and then you get angry and you start playing over here. Well, that's clearly a losing strategy, and it's a lot easier to pick up on from the opponent because there's fewer bubbles over here. There's lots of bubbles over here, harder to predict, fewer over here. If you start doing this in your match, you are on tilt and you will probably lose. So that's another way to lose. You just kind of abandon your training, you kind of fall into bad habits, so on and so forth. Like, that is a way to lose. So Mars is talking about here is like, MK Leo isn't necessarily just like shutting down Diddy with perfect counter strategies. Like, yeah. He's really, I mean, he's playing anti-Diddy, anti-textbook Diddy, but the result of that could have been Diddy shifts into another set of strategies, or Diddy falls for the traps over and over. And Mars is basically saying Diddy is looking bad because he has no other strategy, therefore he's doing the old strategies, therefore he's falling for the traps over and over. And it looks like Leo's not doing much, and Diddy's falling apart, and he's observing what happens when certain counters are introduced into a match, and that's what he's basically commenting on. You can hear it.
Like, it's like mistakes. I don't know. I wouldn't even say, like, Leo's doing, like, a crazy job about, like, finding his way in. It's Tweak just, like, I don't think he's playing to Byleth's weaknesses at all. He's treating Byleth like a real character, and it gives him opportunities.
Yeah, there's a little bit of playing the player in there as well. Playing the player instead of the character. So, like, it's what he's talking about kind of exists halfway here. 35, Mars. It's good enough. And then let's see. And just observing what the match results look like when counter strats are applied and what the limits of strategy are. So he's a little bit over here. 36. It's from start to 13 minutes and 25 seconds. Okay.
Till 2019. Because, like, my whole career in Smash 4, I used to play with the Smash sticks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know why. I never considered it, like, really necessary to change to tilt sticks. But it was until this game. And I remember the exact tournament that I figured out that it was, like, necessary for me, for my gameplay in general. Because, like, when I used to play Joker, I used to, like... I mean, you know that he basically doesn't have any options, right? So every single time I was grounded and I was just, like, in that neutral situation where, like, someone lands above me and, like, we are both shielding, I really feel like I had to jump every single time, because if I decided to go for, like, a down to an up tilt or, like, an F tilt, I would just lose, like, a lot of frames, since I will have to, like, stop shielding, then move the stick, then press A, right?
Of course.
So, and I was like, holy shit, like, I think I need to change my controllers, and then, like, I tried it. And it's really funny because EVO 2019 was actually the first tournament that I played with toe stick.
That's an incredible.
It was like, I figured it out like 1 week before EVO, and I was like, no, dude, I gotta change this ASAP, because if not, I'm gonna keep losing.
See? Very cool quote. MK Leo's just playing the game. He's already great at the game. Everybody knows that. But he's observed something in this game. It's like, you know what? With this character, I really need to respond perfectly, because this character... at a shield isn't really good at reversing the situation. The Joker's moves are too slow or whatever, there's some reason. And he's like, when I try to do stuff without the tilt stick, I have to, like, let go shield, let go the stick, slightly push the stick, hit the button, and he's losing precious frames for a character that already has weak enough responses. So he's like, I realize if I don't change the tilt stick, I'm going to lose, he said. How extreme is that, right? One of the best players playing out of his mind, right? And he realizes if I keep losing a few frames in these situations, I'm not going to win the tournament. And a week before one of the biggest tournaments of the year, he switches and does great. So, like, that's cool, right? Like, that means no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, you need to be observing yourself and you need to be trying to get any and every advantage. It's not just like, yeah, he's Leo, he's good enough, he can afford to play with a broken controller. Nobody can afford to play with a broken controller. Or rather, Leo, he's the best not because he's immune to losing. It's because he does every little thing he can do to win, and it adds up. So that's another way of saying that. I thought that quote was pretty cool. We're going to listen to quote number 37, 1412 to 1533. Okay.
I think the two most overrated techniques are definitely, or at least for me, is attack canceling and double jump. The install double jump. I think that's not really necessary. I mean, to be honest, I've seen a lot of players being like, "Oh yeah, bro, I'm getting this combo because I started using instant double jump." I'm just like, dude, you know that like you can do that with like without using that, right? Like you just want people to watch you, like you just want people to like I don't know, maybe you just want to feel good, right? I mean, of course I have nothing against like those kind of players, but I really feel like it's something that's like, if it's not completely unnecessary, I would say that like it's at least not useful for every single player. Like if you know the frame data of it, or like if you know the range of your moves, I'm pretty sure that like you don't need any of that. Like and I can give you the example. I played Byleth, and to be honest, when the install double jump technique came out, there were a lot of people that were saying, "Hey bro, if you use this, you could get like nair loops, and then like you could get like a lot of damage, right?" And guess what? I know how to do that. I do that often without double jump. So it's like, it's definitely not something that you have to do to like do those combos, right? And I would say,
yeah. So he's saying there's techniques out there. Sometimes it's just fun to learn techniques, cool. Sometimes people want to show off, also cool. But he's essentially saying the techniques are there to achieve a result, and if you can get the result, you don't need the technique, right? If you don't need the result, then you don't need the technique either. So if you don't need to be instant double jumping everywhere or attack canceling to build your offense the best way you can build it, then don't worry about it. There was a time late in Melee stage and earlier in Brawl stage where people were so obsessively chasing tech because, for good reason. I mean, Melee came around, nobody really understood how Smash worked as a fighting game competitively, nobody knew how deep it was, nobody really knew how to play, and we were all teaching ourselves these things on the fly. But there was a certain first generation of Melee players that we learned those things, and we learned everything that we could learn, and we were obviously at the top of the game. But then there was another generation of players that came after that, like, whoa, this game's cool, let me get in. And one of the first things you should learn technique-wise in Melee is Elk Canceling. It is absolutely essential. It's like bread and butter for almost every single like attack interaction you do in the game. And it's obviously a piece of tech that holds you back from taking it to the next level. But that mentality meant a lot of people from then on were like, I need tech to improve, right? What's the tech? And they're just gobbling it up and looking for it. But there's almost nothing in any Smash game then or since. Anything else in Melee or since Melee that is as essential to winning as Elk Canceling. So over the years, people obsessively looking for tech has died down. I mean, we at One Smash, which is my company I made for helping out the Smash community, we have a whole database of all the tech that's been tweeted about Smash Ultimate ever. So we have a whole database you can search, and there's a ton of techniques, ton of combos, ton of techniques, ton of optimizations you can look for. But ultimately, there's degrees to which they can help you. That's the whole diminishing returns thing, right? You can spend a lot of time learning something that you don't really need to apply that much. Maybe you call it the 80-20 rule. It just kind of depends on what you're looking at. But yeah, it's not all necessary. Cool.
I say that those two are probably like the most overrated techniques.
Did I already put that in here? Okay. Overrated techniques 37. Oh, where would that go? I already put it in. Cool. Then 38, solo practice approach. 1744 to 2143. This is going to be a long one. Let's get it started.
Let's see. So, how do you train when you're just like by yourself, or you have no one to train with, no Wi-Fi, like no one in the room? Like, if it's just you in the training mode, like what exactly do you do that you feel like is worth your time, or has gotten you to where you are today?
I think I was the player that spent the most time playing the game by myself. I used to live in a really bad area for Smash when I was a little kid, so I basically didn't have anyone to play with. So what I used to do was like wake up before school, and I used to play like 1 hour of the game with like CPUs, or like use like practicing my spacing, my perfect pivots. I mean, I'm talking about the Smash 4, right?
Yep.
But now in Ultimate, I really feel like it's really hard to like really do something by yourself. Because, like, again, like you were saying, there's not really a technique that, like, will make you immediately better, like, instantly better, like perfect pivot back then in Smash, right? Like, you literally had to get used to it. Like, you literally had to have that frame perfect pivot if you wanted to take advantage of it, right?
2 years to learn how to do it.
Yeah. And it's like,
yeah.
And it's something that, like, people don't really need to do in this game. It's just, like, really easy. Oh, bro, yeah. This combo is free, then you might just practice it. To be honest, the most important thing to train by yourself, I'm pretty sure, is movement and spacing still. Movement and spacing are probably my favorite things to do. And for that, I used to go to training mode. That was literally it. And then I don't know, I stayed there for like 1 or 2 hours, then I try to execute it in a real game with a friend, but that's basically what I did. Or like that's something that I would like people to do more, because I think, well, like movement and spacing play a really important part in this game.
Well, the thing, you kind of say spacing almost like so casually, but you're really known for like to be the master of spacing. So when you're in training mode, a character is essentially just standing still. Like, how do you practice spacing in an area, in an instance like that? Like, are you just literally they're standing there, you're just kind of trying to hit them, and then trying to see like where's the one pixel where it's not going to hit, and then just focusing on that, and then you work on a moving target after that, or do you set them to like jump or something?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to do that, exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
I used to do that
away, pixel by pixel. I feel you.
Yeah, I used to do that with Marth a lot back in Smash 4, so I think I got really used to it. Of course, Marth is like probably the character that literally makes you be better at his spacing.
Right.
I think it's the character that's like the hardest, at least, to get like the right spacing when you're playing against someone, right? Because other characters are just like really free to space with. Some characters even space for free, like they don't even have to do like space. Like their moves will just space for them. But Mara was like really a special case, because like you said, if I was just like 1 pixel away or like 1 pixel in, my dipper just wouldn't work.
It goes from
tipper
to phantom hit.
Yeah, that's why I had to like, I don't know, get used to it and do it a lot. And again, yeah, a lot of people know me to be the best spacing player. And to be honest, I think it's just the fact that like I used to practice my spacing a lot. And like when I used to go to training mode, like instead of like just hitting a character that's like standing right there without doing anything, I was just like, oh, imagine that there's a situation happening right now. Imagine that like I'm getting hit, so I need to get out of it. And then like I need to get a tipper, or like, oh, I'm gonna approach this way, or like, oh, now I need to use backer, or like now you're a stage, I'm gonna try to backer you, and stuff like that. It was like basically just that thing that made me really good at it. Just by like remember what I said about like playing before school like 1 or 2 hours? That was literally what I used to do. Like just try those like situations, those spacing options are like, of course, movement and that stuff.
Cool. I mean, yeah, practice makes perfect.
Cool. There's some other quotes in here that I'll kind of organize later, but these are some of the things that I asked in the survey for Footsies, for the players. Survey number 2, right? Fundamentals. And some of the questions that I asked were about how they improve. And we have the results there, so great. I added the same basic information here to see if there are quotes that line up with those things, and I'm filing them under the best learning practices section. So I know there's other times when Leo mentioned that I mean, he's a coach. He talks about how he teaches others how to play now. He obviously talks to them when he does that. He talked about when he tried to prepare for Tweak, he had to watch his matches, and he had to come up with a counter plan, which is full hop nair. He talks later about how much he loves the game, how much he has fun. Yeah, so like, keep an eye out for that. But that was all that there was for that one. Let's move on to 29. This is 24 minutes to 27 minutes. 39.
Meister is such a good player, and I never really heard him much in Smash 4, so I'm not sure if he rose to prominence in Ultimate, but he bodies everyone. But you body him. How do you have like such a good how do you beat him so hard and he beats everyone else so hard? It's a lot of, you know, I watch you play Tweak, it's close. I watch you play Samsora, it's close. Mars, it's close. Esam is close. But Meister though, it's never close.
That's funny. Yeah, dude. I mean, to be honest, yeah, I do consider myself being the best against Game & Watch, and against Meister, I'm not gonna lie, Meister's an amazing player. To be honest, everything he does, like, people might be like, oh, he's smashing, bro. How is it working? This game is so bad. But to be honest, dude, he conditions you pretty well. I mean, he's an amazing player. He wouldn't be top 6 in the world if he wasn't.
That's why it's shocking how good you do against him.
I'm like, I've seen Meister beating everyone, and everyone is like, holy shit, what can I do against Game & Watch? And then, like, I'm just beating Meister with any of my characters, like, real badly. And I'm just like...
It's like Mango in Melee. Like, it's not even really fair. Like, for his perspective, like, because you must be his Smash demon by a mile. So that just... It's just incredible to see the meta like that.
Yeah, like, if you ask me how I beat him, to be honest, it's just the fact that, like, I'm not gonna lie, the first time I fought him, it was insanely hard. Because I used to have the mentality of like, yo, Meister's a masher, how is it working? Mm-hmm. But then after that, I realized that like he, I don't know, he has like this really weird playstyle that like people don't really understand. That he's just like, he's playing like if he was a little kid. He has like, I mean, of course I don't want to say like bad things about Meister because he's my buddy. But
I took that in a good way, as like he plays the game with like enthusiasm and like he loves it. I didn't think that you meant he sucks like a little kid.
I mean, he doesn't suck for sure, but like sometimes I really feel like he's just new and he just doesn't know what to do and like he's literally losing like real badly, right? Like just because he loses so badly, he doesn't even have time to adapt or like even understand why he's losing. And I'm pretty sure that like if you ask Meister why he loses to me, he would just be like, oh, he knows the matchup pretty well, he knows my habits, and he's the best player. But in reality, there's just something like there's something else about it. And of course, I wouldn't really be able to tell you what it is, but I'm just like Meister's demon, like you said, like is one of those players that like I don't know, it's just bad. It's like when your internet connection is not like it doesn't go well with like other internet connection. It's not compatible. It literally is like that. Like I don't know. I played with people from like Korea and it's like perfect connection, right? But I played people from like Texas and it's like bad. But it's just because it's not compatible. It literally works like that. Maybe I'm just like his enemy, like by nature. Maybe like I was born to beat Meister. Maybe I don't know.
You are the orange. You're the orange juice to his toothpaste. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like he always brushed his teeth, and you're always that citrusy thing that's gonna make it worse.
So there's a lot of elements in that. We're not gonna go back and listen to it, but. He said one thing that Meister plays, he says he lacks experience, so Meister's young, I'm assuming younger than Leo, and relatively young anyway, these are all kids to me, but, he lacks experience, and sometimes you gain from experience how to properly adapt and what to look for and stuff, and if you don't have that experience, maybe you go in a little blindly. So I put that under testing here. Another thing he said is, he said Meister will play in a way where he doesn't even know why he lost. He also says Meister's really good at conditioning and mixing things up. So like that's a really good point to put here for expectations. He's really playing this whole like mix-up game and kind of, but really playing the other player and existing in that space. He also said that he's kind of Meister's demon and maybe something about MKLeo's nature naturally counters him. But what's interesting is if you're a player that doesn't know why you're losing, and you're a player that will play in a way that doesn't get the data to understand conceptually what's happening, then you may think that playing well in the game is all about, you may just think some players are better than you and some aren't. Maybe you think you got lucky, you have good days and bad days. There's all kinds of weird ways to interpret results when you don't have the clear data. But MKLeo's like, if you really have the experience, like me, he says, you know that there's a thing he's not doing. There's a concept he doesn't have. There's a strategy he's not doing. And because he doesn't have that, there's a limit to how well he can play. Meister, when everyone fights Meister for the first time, it's really tough. That's what Leo said. Even Leo had a tough time. But because Leo analyzes things and he understands things conceptually and he has such a wide branching knowledge of Smash, he's like, oh, he's not doing this, right? And every time I play him, I will do this. And as long as he doesn't learn how to beat this, he will lose. And that's exactly the kind of confidence and reliability that Leo talks about his experiences with Meister. And that's exactly what we know how it works when you're talking about strategy, interplay barriers, the limits of some strategies versus others, and it makes perfect sense to us. So yeah, we try to just get everything as clear, simple, and as concrete as possible. There's many different ways to try to understand your own feelings and ways to talk about Smash, competition, improving, but for the most part, I hope you guys appreciate that. Putting it on the screen here, using the common language, defining things clearly, and mapping things out really helps demystify a lot of the strange, mysterious language and experiences you might have out there. Back. So now we're on quote 40. 27 minutes and a half minutes to 30 minutes.
People don't say like last stock Leo, they say game 4 Leo. And
game 4 Leo.
Because once you're like down, it seems like you've taken a breath and you're like, you just activate something. What is that something that you just kind of seem to pick up? If you can even say, because it's such a difficult thing to pinpoint, I'm sure.
It is really difficult. Yeah, I think it has to do with a lot of things that I will explain in a minute. But it's like that little thing I told you about Meister. Like sometimes you're just like that kind of player that like just have this mentality. And like to be honest, yeah, I agree. I'm not like the fastest player, but I do consider myself to be the smartest player, just because like the way I play. I'm always gonna be like, you will never see me give up like other players. Like
you said, you'll never see him give up and lose his morale.
You will never see me like, oh, dude, I cannot win this. I'm just gonna like complain. Oh, I cannot win this.
Repeat that. You'll never see me do what to other players?
Give up. Like I will never give up.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. No.
Like I've seen so many players. Like I've seen Meister being like, "Oh, I'm getting 3 stock. I'm just gonna lose." I've seen Mars S-ding against me because he's so desperate. He's so frustrated. I mean, what happened to Tweak at Evo after being winning every single game? He just talks about like how my mentality is like just way stronger than his. Because I mean, of course, I'm not gonna tell you that like I can't lose because my mentality is like that good. I do not consider myself the best, maybe like technical wise, because I really think that I'm not. I'm just like this really, really, really smart player that like understands those like little situations where like I can take advantage of everything. And I also think I'm probably the best player at doing that. Like,
you hear that? Let me make sure I didn't lose the quote. I don't even know. Oh yeah, it's right here. He said, "I'll back up."
Understand really, really technical wise, because I really think that I'm not. I'm just like this really, really, really smart player that like understands those like little situations where like I can take advantage of everything. And I also think I'm.
So he says he's a really, really smart player because he understands those little situations in which he can take advantage of everything. Does that not sound like a strategy spread to you? This strategy spread here for Footsies contains everything about the game. All the moves you can do, all the data for the moves, some information about how the skill that you need to apply to win the game is spread out, interactions, and then what individual sort of strategies and moves start with and how they branch out to other possibilities and how they end in either KOs or whatever, right? That's a lot of information. Leo's saying he is the smartest player because he knows this about everything in Smash. Everything. Every move, every stage, every character, as much as he can, right? I mean, everyone's learning every day, but as much as he can, more so than other players, he has this in his head. And he says little situations because he knows that the more of these branches you have, the less likely they'll be to occur in many cases, and they become more and more fringe, more and more uncommon, but he has like really good experience in those things. And when they happen, he already knows what to do, and he already knows what's a good thing to do, what's a bad thing to do, and maybe how poorly you'll act in those situations if you lack experience. That's how Leo is defining what it means to be a smart player, and it seems to line up one-to-one with this idea of the strategy spread being a direct application of knowledge, skills, strategy being the core of a fighting game, strategy being the thing that you can absolutely beat down other players with unless they have a matching level of strategy. Therefore, that should explain Leo's success in Smash, his incredible success.
I'm probably the best player at doing that. Like, understanding those little situations that, like literally no other player can understand that quickly, and that's what I do. Like, I just know what to do in, like, a lot of situations. Of course, like,
Yep, you hear it. It's not complicated. I mean, like, understanding it, I've shown you here. You can hear him talking about it. It's just, if you don't understand what he's saying... Copy image. He talked about mindset, but he's talking about his strategy spread fringe. I'm just going to put it here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's a great quote. Let's see. How long have we been streaming? About an hour. So yeah, we did another 20. And it seems to be a relatively good stopping point. I kind of want to get through all these Leo coaching thingies. How many more do we have to go? A lot. And we have up to 10 more. And we only got to 20 right now. Wait, we started at 30. We're only at 40. Oh my goodness. I'm going to keep going. I want to finish this Leo thingy because it's on my mind. So yeah, let's go to 41.
First match of the day was against Louis Money. Pablo Pena player. I know the Pablo matchup really well, so I wasn't really worried about it. Louis is really, really good, but it's still a matchup that you know is like a matchup that you will always win, right?
Leo says, a matchup that you know is a matchup that you will always win, right? And he's speaking with such confidence, right? And he speaks with confidence about things he's confident about and not what he doesn't. So in this particular case, I interpret this as strategy, right? If you have a counter plan to the best things your opponent does, and you kind of know that they don't have anything to beat what you're gonna do, you should win. You should win. That's it. Leo's confident. I'm confident. Let's go. Let's move on. This is 33 minutes to 33 minutes and 45 seconds for this one.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And like, I'm just like that. Like, I really like competition. I really like playing against other people. I really like winning. So like, when I lose, it's like you said, if you didn't learn anything from a loss, it literally means that like it's bad. But if you learn something, it means that like, I mean, nothing's bad. Like, losing is just a process, bro, that you need to follow. That you need to understand that like you need to follow in order to like become the best that you could be, right?
Right. Cool. So not only does he say how much he loves the game, so let's just put this quote all the way down here. So how to improve and get better with best practices. Do you have fun when you take the game seriously? Like, it's pretty important. We're going to put that here. This tiny one here. And we're also going to say, what did he say?
and like you need to follow in order to like become
losing is part of the process, and you need to follow.
The best that you could be.
Losing and failure is part of the process. It's part of this whole cycle where you have to observe yourself and refine and repeat. So we're just gonna follow that one under a little bit under. Have you lost many times in a row to another player? And yeah, that's good enough there. Anything else here? Losing mechanics, having fun character playstyle, magic. No, moving on. 43.
Really, to be honest, I always being a person that like is being really calm no matter what. Like I always try to be like to think about everything I do or like everything I say or like everything that could happen. Like if I'm hanging out with a person that like I don't want to hurt or like I don't know, I always think about like what I'm going to say, and I think breathing is always really important because that's like it's like when you're working out, right? Like you're running, you're in the cardio, like you're just like I don't know, if you don't breathe well or like if you don't focus on that, then the pain in your legs is going to be higher, and like of course you will get tired like way before like you should be getting tired, right? And I think it's just like that. Like I know that it's
cool.
Smash is not a sport. I
Cool. So he talked about thinking about everything. This other quote he mentioned talked about having fun. Intrinsic motivation, being curious. We can just drag that over here for now. Yeah, and we're gonna move on.
And like of course you will get tired like way before like you should be getting tired, right? And I think it's just like that. I don't want to hoard or like I don't know.
He thinks about everything. Very analytical. Just thinking. It's not like you don't have to bust out a pencil and paper and draw math equations and stuff, but thinking is what it is to be human. So like you need to commit your full self to improving yourself. Thinking is a part of who you are, maybe the main part of who you are. So you should be thinking about who you are, what you're doing, and everything else you can. There's just nothing. There's no way around that one, guys. Quote 44.
But like, I mean, what I'm trying to get here is that like they probably make a lot of mistakes as well, so it's kind of like easier for them to adapt to something like that because of I mean, when you're like a lower level player, it's like you make a lot of mistakes, but not only mistakes like rolling or like spot dodge like so often, or like maybe the way you get out of this bench, like maybe you jump, maybe you like you just don't really know how to recognize when to use your jump, when to like be aggressive, when to air dodge and stuff like that. But like I think it also comes a lot with like optimization and understanding just like those little situations that I was talking about in the beginning. Of course, like I said, they are like really complex, but at the same time, I feel like anyone can understand them pretty well. And of course, the better player you are, you will have an easier time for that. So basically, what I'm saying is that like you're probably losing because you're like your skill is not as high as other people.
Boom. In a very different context, explains exactly what we were talking about. He says, lower level players are just making a lot of mistakes. Well, how do you define mistakes? Well, mistakes are a lot of different contexts, a lot of different branching situations or varied situations in which they don't pick the correct option. The option that's like on paper and even in practice is just better. So they just either don't know or not evaluating the thing properly. And because of that, they either don't have as many of these situations learned, or they're not picking the right option in those situations. And he's saying that's the skill. That is something everyone can learn, but until you learn it, you can't win, or you'll be a low level player.
You will have an easier time for that. With like optimization and understanding just like those little situations that I was talking about in the beginning. Of course, like I said, they are like really complex, but at the same time, I feel like anyone can understand them pretty well. And of course, the better player you are, you will have an easier time for that.
So yeah, he's saying, yeah, it's really complex. Look, lots of branches, but really everybody can understand it because it's a video game. You're hitting one button at a time ish. And it's just one little thingy after the other. If you just read it and walk yourself through it, yeah, it looks complex. Guess because video games are highly emergent and fighting games are strategy games. We are at the highest level of complexity here when it comes to game design and video games. That's why we're doing this whole thing on Footsies. This game has like a handful of moves, really not a lot going on, no matchup differentiation. It's black and white, and yet look at all this stuff. You could talk about this stuff forever. I've been playing Footsies for like 50 hours, right? Like, who would have thought? That's exactly what he's talking about. Now, there's a lot to think about, there's a lot to understand, but each individual interaction is not that hard to understand. And it's the matter of, are you going to be able to contextualize that for yourself? Are you going to put that strategy spread in your head? And then once you have it there, you need to use it to make more and more precise optimizations. It's why in one of our takeaways, I said, fighting game depth is increasingly situational, nuance, and precise optimizations, right? That's exactly what he's talking about. We're using the same language. We didn't even meet. I've never met Inkman Leo. I've met many other top players. I've met Daigo. I've met Chris G. I've met Dominion. I've met many Smash players. I've interviewed them, talked to Esam and Mewtwo King and played against them and Isaiah and all this stuff. Like, I've played these people. I've been around for a long time. I've never met Leo. We've never had a conversation speaking the same language. That should tell you something.
Different.
I was almost hoping to see, like, you know, you've seen just a lot of this or that from, you know, the 2-2 players, or, you know, just some. In poker, we have this phrase, we call it populist reads, meaning at, you know, one limit of poker, a lot of people do this thing, and then at the limit up, they do the adjustment to the previous thing, and then the limit above that, they may do the adjustment to the adjustment. And I didn't know if Smash was that way, or if it was more specific to person.
It is definitely that way, but like, well, I don't know how competitive poker is, but I can tell you that like there's no many situations like that in a Smash. Like, if you're in disadvantage, like, you're pretty much will get fucked. Like, there's nothing you can do. Like, if you're
I love it how he talks about this game. Like, we know that fighting games are competitive. We know there's a lot of skill, but we also know that sometimes when you're playing, there's just not a lot you can do. There are situations where you're like, you have a 1 in 10 chance of not getting killed. You have a 1 in 20 chance of getting out of this. We get it. Like, there's all kinds of, you're doing as much as you can as a competitor to shift the probability and the odds in your favor, but sometimes you just can't do much, and you gotta live with it. That's what a video game is. That's what consequences are. So that's what he's saying in this first part, but here's what he also says.
Disadvantage in the player that you're playing against is good at pushing advantage for him. Like, I mean, yeah, you cannot do anything. That's why I named like the most basic habits in a bad player, or like, well, not really a bad player, but like in like a player that autopilots a lot, and it's basically like roll from the ledge, or like jump in neutral, jump in disadvantage, like maybe air dodge when they don't have to, or just like try to punish something with like a really bad option. You're not gonna go for the edge guards. Your ledge trap's gonna be whack. Your ledge trap's gonna be really predictable to condition and like stuff like that. But like, yeah, there's not really something like that, because like it's not. How can I explain it? Because I'm pretty sure that like in card games, or at least in poker, I'm pretty sure that like there's just something that you need to follow every single, let's say, game.
Yeah, so he's saying in terms of strategy, other strategy games are built up on things that you do every time. Like, you do this, you hit that, you put the card down, you pop it in, you do the damage, you block the attack, like every single time. That's the winning strat. He's saying in a game like Smash Brothers, which we're calling a fighting game, which it is a fighting game, so stop. He's saying there's almost nothing that you should do 100% of the time. Like, there's almost nothing you should always be doing like that.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I played a lot of card games. I never played poker personally, but like, it's always like the same strategy, right? And then you make adjustments to that. But in Smash, it's just like, it depends on the player a lot. So it's like really hard to tell what are your habits, or like what are like the beginner habits.
Poker's a people game. It's a game that primarily, we have this thing in poker called GTO, where you can deviate a strat. You can create a strategy.
So yeah, essentially here, he's saying, yeah, you can never almost just like do one guaranteed thing for every player always. And this is what I meant by suboptimal play is more valuable to a fighting game competitor than with other strategy games. Because there's no like one refining thing that everyone's like teching towards and everyone's trying to do better in the same way and just getting more and more refined in one direction. We call it a strategy spread for a reason. There's all these things you can do, and depending on your execution, your skill, and your understanding, you can push where the match goes in these different directions. And it's not like, whoa, you're going south, that direction loses every time. Like, every direction could possibly win. each one of these directions can end in a KO for them, or a counter that ends in a KO for you. KO, KO, KO on every layer. Every layer has KOs on it. That means that you could get the reversal and beat them, or they could get the reversal on you and beat you, or back and forth multiple times. And this is just in Footsies, right? This isn't even not even close to being complex like a normal fighting game. The strategy is dense, right? The strategy is real. The amount of rules that are in the game is not even close, right? And that's what Leo is getting at here. At the core of fighting games, that little double blind core, and the fact that it's based on this little triangle interplay, and that it's based on this double blindness, you can never be like 100% sure. So here's quote 46.
To explain it, of course, I've been coaching a lot of people, so I've been seeing it a lot. And every time I ask them why they do that, it's because like they are literally not thinking. And I think that's like, such an habit that like, I mean, of course, like you could get desperate, or like you might be feeling pressure or like stuff like that. But at the same time, it's just something that like if you have common sense, you will not do it, right? Because I mean, the main goal of the game is getting to the ledge. I mean, that's how you're safe. Like unless someone is like trying to edge guard you, or like someone is like fishing for something off stage, you should never try to recover with a double jump, of course, because you lose your double jump, right? But
so he's saying he's coached a lot of people, and when people are not good, obviously he's the best. But when he's talking about when people are making just really glaring mistakes, he's like, well, what were you thinking when you did that? And his answer was, every single time they're not thinking. And this is something that I've been saying for a long time. Your ability to think, your ability to move and act with intentionality and purpose and originality and personality, it's all depending on how much of the strategy space you have worked out for yourself, and the weighting or the reasoning you put behind these different branches, right? So if you're just hitting the button every time in a certain situation, why? Like, is it because it came from this move to this move to this move, or is it because why is it? What are you avoiding? Which branch are you avoiding? Which path are you afraid of going down? Which one would you rather be down? If you can't answer those questions, you're just hitting buttons, right? A monkey can hit buttons. So he's saying this is how you think. You think ahead of time. He's like, he also said if you have common sense, you wouldn't have done that. So basically he's saying if you weren't pressured, if you look back at your actions, if you analyze the situation with your full mind, and you just had time to think about it, would you pick that stupid option you picked? If the answer is no, because obviously that option was stupid, you ran straight into an explosion kind of a thing, but yet you did it in real time, that means you haven't put in the thought ahead of time. And he's saying to be better as a player, you need to constantly be putting more intentionality, more thought, more analysis, more consideration, more observation, more detail into every single thing you do. And that's what he was saying there. That's why I love that quote. It's so good. So that, yeah, people are not thinking. And I'm going to put this under to not having a plan. Weaker players don't have a plan. They just do stuff. And you're like, yeah. Stepping stone. We'll try 77 or 47.
Okay, cool.
No, like it's like I said, like why would I stop doing something that is like getting punished once or two times when I'm doing like 18 times? Like it's about like percentages, right? Like I don't know, he probably punished me like less than 10% from all the roles that I was doing. So like again, I think a lot of people have like this really bad mindset of like, yeah, this is bad because this is not the right thing. But in reality, in a Smash, there's a lot of like, yeah, this thing was like maybe not really optimal, but like if it works, it works. Like it means that it was fine. And like you said, the 3 times tweak roll, I punished him for it, and of course I reacted to it. And also one thing that we gotta note in here is that like I won game 4 by reading one of his jumps, by reading one of his rolls. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because in the 4th game I was rolling a lot as well, and I remember a lot of people bringing that up of like how did I beat Tweak if I was rolling a lot. And that's just, like, something that I consider stupid because, like, dude, I mean, if he didn't punish it, it was because of something, right? I was literally conditioning him to, like, oh, I'm gonna roll a lot. He's gonna, like, be really surprised when I don't roll. And then when he tries to punish that, I would just do something different.
I think a lot of people...
It's crazy. Yeah, I love it how he talks. It's just so clear. He's like, if I got away with it, it's because I did something. My name's NK Leo. I'm the best player. I'm fighting the best players. So if you see something happening that you feel like you could have never gotten away with it, it's because you could have never gotten away with it. He's doing something different, and he's doing it right in front of your face. So quit assuming that what you see is bad, and try to look a little bit deeper to see how it could be good.
People thought that roll was going to be bad in this game.
Next quote. Next quote. 49.
Said, I mean, there's nothing worse, bro, than losing against your own character.
Nothing worse.
But I also think that, like, I mean, to be honest, I didn't used to suffer from that, but now that I've been playing online a little bit more, I really find it really complicated fighting against the same character. I really find it really complicated to play Natero. And it is basically because of, like, I don't know, like, it's just really hard, and, like, they do different things than I do, and it's just gonna be really complicated. The way I used to look at it was like, alright, if you are playing a character that I play as well, I'm just gonna go for it, and I'm just gonna do the same things that you do. Of course, neutral game is gonna be different. We're not gonna be the same, right? But like, if you go for a combo that does like 60%, that means that I will do for the same combo that does 60%. And that's the worst thing about it, because I think that most of the time the worst player wins the day.
That's so curious. Everyone has weird feelings about Ditto matches, and I think there's a lot to be said about the neurology of it. Like, I don't know if mirror neurons are actually firing, but like, you see something and you're used to interpreting yourself as being this character on the screen, but then you see another version of yourself, and when they do something, you monkey see, monkey do. I used to collect a bunch of clips of Ditto matches where the monkey see, monkey do phenomenon was happening, and one player would do something weird, maybe even stupid, and then the other player would do it. You're like, man, there's something about it. It gets in your head. I just think it's funny that everyone recognizes it, so I put a little section here for it. Here's another quote.
Yeah, you know, one of my
Light.
friends, he was just randomly playing Fox, and I told him, like, I realized how not used I am to getting Fox bullshitted myself.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was very bad. It took a lot of time, and I'm still not that great at it. But it took a lot of time for me to actually understand how to fight my own character. I can see why people can think he's top tier, but I'm gonna, like, there's a lot of stuff they need to understand about the character.
Yeah, it's hard to fight your own character. You spend so much. It's just, there's something to it. We're gonna move on, but that's crazy. I love that. How many more of these? Cool. Just two more of these MK Leo section thingies, and coaching, learning from bad players. This is what this one's about.
What else?
What you can get better at? I think I can get better at it. I don't really think it's something in specific, but I think I need to get better at like seeing the game not only as a player, but seeing the game as a coach as well. And that's why I really like doing the meta fight lessons, because like, you will not imagine how much I've learned from like bad players just because I've seen their mistakes. And like, there's just like a lot of mistakes, and like, I just learn like the pattern of it. Like, I just know when someone's gonna do this thing. Like, of course, if I used to know that before, I know it even more right now, because I'm just like, all right, this guy does like, he does that, right? A lot. So I'm pretty sure that he's gonna do that too. So I'm just gonna go for it. I think viewing the game as a viewer, like a spectator, coach, whatever, and a player is completely different. I think that's what I need to work on.
Cool. Viewing things from different perspectives. He learned a lot from bad players. Now he has more. He's basically saying he has more experience now because he has experienced more of how more different types of players play. So instead of just being incredibly good at beating some of the top, or really good at beating some of the top players and really good at beating medium and weak players, now he's really, really good at beating medium and weak players, and even better at beating top players. So that lower level experience helps him better contextualize and understand, you know, why they do what they do, maybe where some of the other players who've learned and grown out of that phase, what is deep in the recesses of their strategy space. He's absorbing it all. And I think that kind of goes a little bit in this core fighting game core, but it's lining up with this idea that, like I highlighted before, suboptimal play is more valuable to fighting game competitor than with other strategy games. He just said it right there, right? I didn't make that up. It's just the truth. It's out there. It's obvious once you realize it. Another thing, what I love about that quote is he says there's really not much for him to get better at. And if you think about it, that's true. You are a human. I am a human. He is a human. There's only so much you can do, say, learn, eat, whatever in a period of time. If you have the method for yourself that optimizes staying alive, living healthy, learning about the game, beating basically almost everybody on the planet, he already refined that method. He's consistently been the best player. So if he keeps doing that at that same rate, he will continually be on top. And really, the whole point of a fighting game is only to be able to beat everyone in the tournament that you're in. Who cares about anyone else in the entire planet? So he's pretty much optimized ultimate competitive Smash Bros. Playing by definition, right? Like, if he didn't lose ever, it'd be obvious, but he's pretty much the winningest player in Ultimate right now, and he's setting the limit at what we know is possible. So yeah, it's true. There isn't anything for him to improve at. He knows, and he didn't beat himself up for losing that one set with Diddy against Diddy and Tweet, because he knows that for something he's gonna talk about in the next quote. But he knows that you can only be so good if you don't have the strategy. You can't win in the middle of a tournament. If you can't get that strategy in a match, then you can't win. But if you go home and do the things necessary to get that information, then you should win. He's super confident about matchups. He's super confident about how strategy and applying that and learning works. And that's just it. Sometimes you can't win them all, and he knows that there are gaps in the ups and downs in the learning period, and he's not worried about the downs, and he's anticipating the ups because he's been doing it, and it's true, and it's consistent, and that's life. So yeah, I support his confidence in saying that there's not much he can improve it. So here's this last quote. Last quote here, I think, 51.
Yeah, I can tell what you're getting at. You're saying, like, there's a lot less adjusting going on than you think. It's more of, like, this work has been done away from the game, and we're just out here almost performing a dance, and my dance just happens to beat your dance.
Yeah, you're getting it really well. You're actually getting it really well. There's just something that you're missing. That I think is really important. That a lot of people think that that's adapting, but in reality, it's not adapting, and that comes with experience. Everything you said is really important. It's like actually really good. The fact that like some reads are just like guesses or stuff like that, or like just like conditioning options and stuff like that, or like just the fact that like I'm making you play my game basically. Like I'm doing this, so I'm gonna make you play the game. But what I'm trying to get from Tuo is like why it happens, and I'm gonna explain it, or at least that's what I think. A lot of people are always like, yo, bro, do you see that? Oh, that was fucking insane. But they never think about, like, what's behind it. Like you already said, it's just a conditioning option that looks like a read or guess. That was perfect. And then, like, the fact that you make other people play your game because you're just, like, more, let's say, I don't really know how to explain this, but, like, you're just aggressive, right? Like, you're just, like, the leader of the game. I kind of like to see it like that. It's when, like, a cat. Like, I don't know, there's like a cat, right? That has a cat, like, it's his friend, basically. But, like, the one cat does what the other cat does. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's because of, like, he's the leader of, like, those two cats. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that. So, basically, when you're playing, you gotta look up.
He's talking a little bit about setting the tempo and the pace of a match. Either you're both playing completely blind of each other, or somebody's watching the other and making adjustments based on that information. If somebody's watching the other person, somebody is setting the... You can't double watch each other and both be double making adjustments. That's just kind of like silly, right? And even if you try to do that, at some point when somebody does something the other person wants to react to or hits somebody, then it's definitely one person sets the interaction, the other person has to react to it. So at some point, it's better to think about fighting and playing double or real-time games like that as somebody leading, somebody following. I think in chess they call this setting the tempo. And you know, if you're setting out the conditions in which they have to then perceive, react to, internalize, and then do something appropriate just to keep up, then you're setting the tempo. You're pushing them around. You're making them reactive. You're being offensive or aggressive. And it doesn't even have to be offensive, right? You could be running away or zoning or whatever. But in general, if you are the one initiating the changes of conditions that the other person must then respond to, then you're setting the tempo, and that's what he was talking about here in the cat metaphor. There's always some cat that's leading and somebody's always following.
Like, who's the strongest player? Being the strongest player in that thing, or like in that, let's say, skill, is not really what like makes you better than the other player. I think that's wrong. I don't think the better you adapt, the better you are as a player. I just think that like you just have more experience dealing with those options, and of course you just have like a more important game plan and like a more like and a stronger game plan basically. That like
stronger game plan. So let's just take it from where was I? It's like 51 we were talking about. We were just talking about conditioning and stuff. Where is the quote? Here, it's teeny. Don't do that. But then he's talking about having the stronger game plan. So we're going to just put this down here. Do you have a plan when you play? He's talking about the strategy. And I think at one point he's minimizing the importance of somebody setting the tempo and the other person responding. Because, you know, you see master martial artists all the time let the weaker martial artists, like, pick whatever weapon you want. Come at me from whatever direction you want. All that stuff. Bruce Lee, freaking Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Jet Li, Jackie Chan, all the time. Just showing their mastery. And no matter what the other opponent comes at them with, which means the weaker opponent setting the tempo, they counter it, they do the minimal movement, they slap them on the face, they do all the stuff because they're better. So MKLeo's saying you don't have to set the tempo of the match to win. You can have a superior strategy, superior skill, superior whatever, but it just means some person's setting and some person's reacting. So like that's very, very, very insightful and astute from MKLeo.
Makes people believe that they just kind of control the game because you're already controlling it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you're just like the one that is started the dance, literally, just like you said. Like it doesn't mean that you cannot really put them in disadvantage or like gain stage control, but like the game is gonna flow as they want, right? And I can give you a lot of examples.
So that's cool. So he's saying the person who sets the tempo is gonna be influencing the game first, so obviously setting the game as they want, at least initially. But as he's also saying, if you just have better branches, like if you just say, okay, opponent, you pick the first move anywhere in this black circle, and then you're just like, bam, you have the second layer. And they're like, well, maybe bam. They're like, bam, you have the fourth layer. Like, depending on what the moves are, you could basically just beat them. Every layer has a KO on it. So that means if you're better at navigating and pushing it to the next layer and getting to those KO spots, then you're going to beat them. So, like, that's exactly what he's explaining.
Like, a lot of games that I've won before haven't gone my way. Because, like, to be honest, I'm the one trying to, like, get them to the spot where, like, I want to be. They are usually winning. Because, like, their playstyle is, like, more natural, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And,
right there, he's saying, you know, if two people are trying to set the tempo, somebody's going to win. And sometimes it's not going to be you. It could be just the time of the day. It could be character matchup. It could just be natural things like they tend to do this every time and you tend to do that. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, now I got to get back into it. So it could be anything, right? But he's saying sometimes he plays matches where he's not setting the tempo and...
But the thing here comes with experience. A lot of people see like, oh, he adapted, bro. Oh my god, he lose one matchup, and then the next time he wins it. But it's not because we adapted, it's because we gain experience. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like...
So this is a little confusing, right? There could be a mini language barrier thing here, or he's just trying to puzzle through and think through this thing as he goes, or it's hard. Takes a lot of work. That's why we're putting all this work into it. But his distinction between adapting and experience or gaining experience is not very clear. But how I interpret it is you can only do so much learning in the middle of a match. The most effective way for you to learn in the middle of the match is already to have the strategy space either scouted or formed or rehearsed or something. You got to already have that scaffolding there. And then in the middle of the match, you are mostly evaluating the risk reward. You're evaluating what your opponent knows, and you're quickly navigating to paths you already have experience with. And that's kind of what he's saying here. Like, people aren't going to the match with a blank slate going, what is this game? What do these buttons do? Okay, let me just start adapting, and yeah. Like, that's just not how it works. We put on all these hours to put the thing in our head, to put like a mini model of the game in our head in the first place, and that's what we're primarily using, observing and manipulating to help us make better and better decisions on the fly. So it's less about learning on the fly. It's more about I mean, it's just a little bit of learning. Like, what did my opponent do then? Okay, I'll lean a little bit this way. And I think he's trying to demystify a little bit of this idea that weaker players or other people have spread around that that overemphasize autopiloting, adaptation, mentality, patience. And he's just saying, like, the vast majority of what makes you good at these games is experience. And when I interpret what he says experience is this. He's already explained it. We've already explained it. He's saying this is the bulk of why you're good. Keep building this. Don't worry too much about how much you can adapt in the match. Because at some point, there's a limit. And at some point, you can't. It happened to him. He lost. It happens to other players. They lose. That's the reality of it. And I think that's mainly what MK Leo is driving at right here. So that's a good stopping place. Another sort of hour and a half. More than an hour and a half of explaining these quotes, but there's so much to it, and we got to 51 of these, and I think the maximum number is 73 and growing. So maybe one more final stream session with these quotes, and we will be able to finally move on. The next steps that we will do in this Footsies Fundamentals series is cross-checking some of the stuff we learned with the survey. We might take a look at the survey results. We kind of already did, but we can cross-check it with other survey results that I've taken. I've done mini Smash surveys over the years. I've done ARMS surveys for the fighting game ARMS on Nintendo Switch when they first came out, and I got to some high-level players, including Gore Magala, second place winner at EVO Japan, and one of our best players, one of the best players in the West, and Bar Ball, a game that I made with my team, and we took it to multiple fighting game tournaments, and we took surveys and stuff. But basically just taking what we know about Footsies, expanding it to fighting games or Smash, and expanding it to more genres, and expanding it to more learning environments, and expanding it to life. That's the whole point. This isn't a video series on the fundamentals of playing Footsies. This is a video series on the fundamentals of learning itself, which can be applied to life. These are life fundamentals, and I hope you've been enjoying the ride. My name is Richard Terrell. If you want to find out more about who I am or what I do, you can check me at KirbyKid on Twitter, but mostly I run Design Oriented. You can find more details at designoriented.net. You can join us on a Discord channel in which we talk about this stuff all the time, every day, like 24-hour content of game design, analysis, research, and really just having a lot of fun playing games together. We stream a lot, we talk a lot, and it's just really casual and a fun way for you to jump in and get basically the best game design education you're going to find on the planet, and it's free. I'll challenge anyone to that. But until next time, peace.